poco raro. Bueno. Buen día, buenos días, good morning, bonjour, sabah al khair. Bienvenidos al segundo día de Meda Week. Un año más, en Meda Week hablamos sobre la prosperidad de la región en tiempos muy difíciles. Pero cualquier reflexión o debate acerca de este concepto quedaría incompleto si no habláramos también de inclusión y sostenibilidad. De hecho, ningún emprendimiento es sostenible si no tiene en cuenta su impacto social. Desde la triple vertiente de sostenibilidad económica, social y medioambiental. Hoy, más que nunca, tener un ecosistema empresarial sano implica mejores pymes, un mayor acceso al crédito, más diversidad y menos informalidad. Nuestra región, el Mediterráneo, cuenta con 23 millones de pymes, que representa aproximadamente el 90% del sector privado. Sin embargo, estas pymes solo reciben el 8% del total de préstamos bancarios. Este dato alarmante, sumado al momento de incertidumbre que atraviesan algunos países mediterráneos, se contrasta con un dato positivo: el mayor interés que genera el sector financiero islámico. Son cada vez más las entidades que intentan desarrollar productos y instrumentos adaptados a las reglas que rigen este concepto. A pesar de que el sector representa solo una pequeña porción a nivel mundial, y lo que más importante, es un sector más sostenible que el convencional, más sano, con más garantías de futuro y mejor impacto social. Creo que este es un buen punto de partida para el debate que tendremos en este séptimo foro de finanzas islámicas en el Mediterráneo. Porque se trata de un sector que no ha parado de crecer, a pesar de las adversidades de los últimos años, con una economía en recuperación post-COVID, los elevados precios de la energía, los conflictos geopolíticos, la interrupción de la cadena de suministro o el aumento de la inflación. De hecho, la financiación islámica se ha expandido a un ritmo mucho más rápido en los últimos años en comparación con el crecimiento de los préstamos convencionales. Esos dos segmentos crecieron a una tasa compuesta promedio del 10,5% y del 3,4% respectivamente durante el periodo 2021-2022. Se espera que la industria financiera islámica global llegue a los 5,9 billones de dólares en el año 2026, lo que supone un crecimiento de casi 2 billones de dólares desde el 2002. Además, no hay que olvidar que el sector cuenta con el respaldo de más de 1.680 instituciones financieras presentes en más de 130 países a lo largo del mundo. Las perspectivas de futuro para el sistema financiero islámico son optimistas. Será el sector que más crezca del sistema financiero mundial, con un 8% anual hasta el 2026. Este mercado se encuentra todavía en una etapa de madurez. Están surgiendo grandes oportunidades de inversión debido sobre todo a capitales en busca de oportunidades, particularmente con el mayor enfoque en alinear los productos financieros islámicos con factores ambientales, sociales y de gobernanza. Y también a los recientes avances de la digitalización. Este hecho se constata también con una mayor capacidad para movilizar recursos, con una gama diversificada de productos de inversión y ahorro, que podrían beneficiar al sector público y privado y atraer importantes flujos para invertir en sectores productivos y financieros de nuestra región mediterránea. También es cierto que aún tenemos en este segmento de finanzas asignaturas pendientes, como liberalizar sus mercados, asegurar la libertad de inversión o conseguir una mayor coherencia jurídica. Estos factores, todos ellos, pueden facilitar su incorporación rápida al sistema financiero internacional. Pero también es cierto que ahora tenemos la oportunidad de reinventar las economías de la región, ofrecer una narrativa alternativa que podría dar forma al nuevo Mediterráneo, abriendo así grandes perspectivas de dinamismo regional. Por eso no podemos dejar de pasar esta gran oportunidad que representa hoy el sector financiero islámico. Yo creo que nuestro objetivo es intentar concienciar a los millones de empresas en el Mediterráneo que hay. No solamente está el sector financiero convencional, hay el sector de banca ética y también está el sector de financiero islámico. Por eso esta Zibaoui no puede no contar cada 2 años con este foro y agradecer sobre todo la colaboración y la coorganización del Consejo General de Banca e Instituciones Financieras Islámicas, su colaboración con ASCAME y este impulso que nos está ayudando a dar mayor visibilidad a ese sector en la región mediterránea. Sin más, doy la palabra al secretario general de CIBAFI, el señor Belatik.
Thank you, Mr. Anwar. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wassalam ala maulana Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum, good morning to all of you here and those that are with us online. It's a great pleasure to be here again for this Islamic Finance Forum, which is organized again with our friends and colleagues from ASCAME and the Chamber of Commerce. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our friends again for this long-term relationship and partnership. And of course, my heartfelt thanks to the speakers that made the time in their busy schedules to share with us their insights on Islamic finance in the region and various trends that are shaping our industry. The last few years, we have seen very important and tremendous shifts in the way financial services are delivered in terms of, and we have seen in particular during the COVID-19 period, an increased digital process, digitalization, which has brought many projects that were planned by a number of financial institutions, brought them forward, and this is shaping the new trends for the finance in the sector. This led us at CIBAFI to start a comprehensive program on innovation and digital transformation by establishing a working group, a dedicated working group that is having different projects on digital transformation and providing a guide for Islamic financial institutions to manage their digital transformation in an orderly way. The second big trend, of course, that is shaping finance and will be more and more having an impact on the financial sector globally is, of course, issues related to sustainable development and with climate change. And this is really at the core of our work, and we see it as more important again for the Mediterranean region. Islamic finance globally has seen, of course, the last maybe decades an increased and continuous trend of growth. If we can just, to have some kind of comparison, In the year 2010, the industry was, assets were about $1 trillion US. Now we are close to 3.5 trillion US dollars, so 3.5 times, 4 times as large as it was like 13 years ago. And this trend is continuing. In the region, its growth, I think, is even higher, and it can be even more higher. For the last year, the increase in the region has been of about 20%, bringing the industry total assets at $144 billion US, over $144 billion US. And this can certainly double or triple if other countries, of course, like in Spain here, are involved, and if we see an Islamic finance industry emerging strongly in this region. In relation, again, with the CIBAFI work, as you know, we have members from over 37 countries. So the Mediterranean, of course, very active, and we think it's a vibrant market for Islamic finance with a huge potential of growth from different countries like Egypt, Turkey, North Africa. We will see some experiences today from Libya and from others, from Egypt and so on. On sustainability front, our work has been concentrating on providing some guidelines and guides for the Islamic banks, how to make sustainability really across all the sectors of the finance sector of their operations. For this, we have issued a sustainability guide, and we continue some other work, in particular on climate change and climate risk. We have issued just a few weeks ago with the United Nations Environment Protection Program a guide for how to manage climate risks, some guidelines for the banks, and we will be having with the Central Bank of the UAE by the end of this month, a pre-COP28 specific program dedicated to addressing issues related to climate change risk and how banks can do it and manage this transition. In parallel with that, we will be issuing in the next few months, certainly, a tool for measuring the carbon footprint of Islamic finance portfolios. So this, we have been working on it with our colleagues and friends, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank our friends here with us, Marcos, who we were at the beginning of this with the Global Alliance for Banking on Values and Partnership for Carbon Accounting Financials, where we, just pre-COVID, we had signed a memorandum of understanding to work together on this program. So, I mean, our work program for the next few years, again, will be on coming up with perhaps more capacity building on these issues to bring them to operations of Islamic banks, and having a comprehensive work related to sustainability on various fronts, from climate risk, from the opportunities that it has, and from disclosure purposes. So with this, I think we'll have the opportunity to hear again from some of our friends here on the practicalities of these and how it is implied and how this affects our Mediterranean region. So again, thanks to our friends and to the participants both here and online, and I wish a very fruitful discussion during this forum. Thank you. And before leaving, of course, I would like to invite Mr. Hameed Abou Mosa, our Deputy Chairman and Governor of Faisal Islamic Bank of Egypt. Mr. Hameed.
Morning. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On behalf of the Board of Directors of General Council for Islamic Banks and the Financial Institutions, CIBAFI, and on my own behalf, I would like to welcome you all to the 7th Mediterranean Islamic Finance Forum titled Islamic Finance in the Mediterranean Region, an Avenue for Sustainability and Economic Growth. On this occasion, let me express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to the Association of the Mediterranean Chambers of Commerce, ASCAME, for orchestrating this pivotal event. Tribute should be paid to our members, strategic partners, and sponsors for their continuing and strong support. Distinguished guests, the Islamic financial services industry is relatively new when compared to the conventional financial system dating back to the late 1960s. Yet it has been developing and growing rapidly in recent years, doubling in size almost every 5 years. The industry's overall worth increased to approximately $3.25 trillion in 2022 from $3.06 trillion in 2021, which primarily propelled by the advancements in Islamic banking and the Islamic capital markets within key markets, affirming its growing significance worldwide. On the other hand, the Islamic banking segment retained its dominant and accounting for 69.3% of the IFSI assets in 2022. In spite of the rapid growth and positive outlook for the industry, there are several great existing and potential opportunities in many Muslim majority and non-Muslim countries, along with untapped potential that needs to be unlocked. Moreover, Islamic finance pays much attention to the financial inclusion, social responsibility, and sustainable development based on the Islamic values that are presented in noble purpose of Sharia, such as maintenance of religion, life, mind, offspring, and property. As a result, the ethically and the socially responsible principles underpinning of Islamic finance has captured the attention of global investors, affirming its pivotal and leading role in sustainability and economic growth. I would like to point out the importance of the CIBAFI role in raising awareness, exchanging information, and sharing points of views and expertise on issues related to IFSI development and growth by the regularly holding a series of workshops, seminars, and forums covering a wide range of issues about the industry. I also appreciate hard work and sincere efforts devoted by CIBAFI as an advocate of the IFS industry, being the leading industry voice, supporting regulatory, financial, and economic policies aimed at adopting the best practice and achieving sustainability and economic growth. Regarding the CIBAFI role in Islamic sustainable development, the Sustainability Guide for Islamic Financial Institutions, IFIS, was issued and developed in 2022 to promote sustainable development in the Islamic banking industry by supporting Islamic bankers in integrating sustainability in their business activities while considering environmental, social, and economic objectives. This guide is designed as a guidance tool for Islamic banking practitioners working at various levels in Islamic banks to implement the principles of the sustainability and foster collaboration between Islamic banks, regulators, standard-setting bodies, and the other international institutions who share the same goals of the sensibility. Our vision is simple but profound: to be the leading provider of Islamic banking products and services, achieving positive and sustainability development regionally and internationally, coupled with commitment to the principles of sustainable development, transformation into eco-friendly Islamic banks, and embracing the latest fintech trends to meet the demands of the modern financial landscape. Due to the global shift toward sustainable development in the light of the UN Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, all Islamic banks around the world should consider the impact of its business activities by adopting a proactive integration approach whereby sustainability objectives are identified, implemented, and assessed. To do so, we urge Islamic banks to promote and enhance environmentally friendly practices through financing eco-friendly projects and actively involving in sustainable development initiatives through financing sustainable and renewable energy projects in order to align with our deep conviction the sustainable development enhance financial and banking stability, paving the way for sustainable economic growth. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Abdelhamid Abou Mosa. And we are happy to welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Sami Al-Suwailem from the Islamic Development Bank Institute. Is he with us online?
You hear me, Brother Abdelilah?
Yes, we hear you. Please go ahead. We don't have on screen. Yeah, okay, thank you. So we hear you. So then the cloud is yours, Dr. Sami. So Dr. Sami is, of course, many of you know him. He's the acting director general of the Islamic Development Bank Institute, is the development bank of the OIC countries, very active, of course, in many areas and on the research and publications, and he's himself the chief economist of the Islamic Development Bank Group. Dr. Sami, we welcome you very heartfully and thank you for your participation in advance. The cloud is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brother Abdelilah. I hope you can hear me and see me well, given that sometimes the connection might not be very stable. I'm very honored to join the 7th Mediterranean Islamic Finance Forum on the theme of Islamic finance in the Mediterranean region, an avenue for sustainability and economic growth. I appreciate and I'm grateful for CIBAFI for its pioneering and leading efforts in supporting sustainability through various professional activities, reports, and seminars, and working groups. And I am happy to report that we are actively at the Islamic Development Bank Institute. We actively participate in these activities in one way or another. And we would be obviously happy to support overall activities in this domain. I will not take much of your valuable time, but let me briefly highlight how sustainable development is linked to economic freedom. Now, I think we all cherish economic freedom, and I think this is a value that we all should be supporting and working to enrich and to enhance. But how this would be linked to sustainable development might not be initially obvious. I will start first with the economy and then go to finance and then wrap up showing the link between the two and economic freedom. So when we talk about halal economy, obviously the Quran differentiates between halal and tayyib. So يحل لهم الطيبات. So the Quran mentions two aspects of goods. And interestingly, that is actually the term used in textbooks, economics, in economic textbooks, which are goods, which are tayyibat. So, but halal is predominantly about the legal aspect of the product, while tayyib relates to its role in satisfying natural, normal, and real needs. So tayyibat therefore lead to satisfaction, which if a person is satisfied, he's less inclined to consume and to spend more. The more you are satisfied, the more you are happy, the more you are enjoying your life. So satisfaction would regulate the level of consumption. And with normal levels of consumption, resources would be directed more toward saving and investment, and therefore building future resources rather than depleting resources for short-term pleasure. By balancing short-term gain with long-term progress, we are able to achieve happiness. Happiness is sustainable, but pleasure is not. It is unfortunate that a large fraction of consumption and consumption goods aim just to get pleasure. Pleasure is short-term, and because it's short-term, it's not sustainable. So every time we are looking for pleasure, the reward we feel would diminish, and therefore we have to spend more in order to keep the same level of pleasure over time. But this is obviously not sustainable. Taking pleasure would lead to addiction, consumption addiction, and various kinds of behavioral ills and issues. On the other hand, to feel satisfied or to seek satisfaction would give us the economic freedom. So the person or the decision maker or the economic unit would have more ability to think and to decide rather than to be addicted to different kind of consumption behavior. Now, the relationship of this short-term sightedness and the consumption domain with debt financing is not very difficult to see. Interest-based debt, as we all know, has the ability of self-multiplication. Interest would allow debt to grow on its own, completely disconnected from the real economy. Now, this self-multiplication feature of the interest-based system would put huge pressure on businesses to generate income to service their mounting debt. The introductory remarks this morning mentioned how many SMEs in the region. Now, if these SMEs give priority to short-term gains and short-term profits, that would be obviously at the expense of sustainable progress. So in this environment, debt addiction is inevitable. Why? Because we have to, work hard to service the debt, but the debt is growing faster by nature and by design. There is no internal mechanism to align the growth of debt with the growth of the economy. So debt would be easier to grow faster than the economy, and this would put pressure for the economy to catch up, at least to service the mounting amount of debt. So you can see how debt addiction is also a constraint on economic freedom. Economic freedom is a value that we can achieve by being able to overcome these pressures for short-term gains, short-term profits, and short-term objectives. I would add also that debt financing is one of the major factors for middle income trap. We do have many SMEs. SMEs are very important, but we don't want small businesses to continue forever to be small. We want the small enterprises to grow to become medium enterprises. We want the medium enterprises to grow to become large enterprises. There is no reason to think that a small business should continue forever to be small, or the medium should continue forever to be small. We want these businesses to grow, or at least a good fraction of the SME sector to grow. Now, for these businesses to break this middle income trap or small income trap, or this category, to break that barrier and go up on the ladder, they have to have the freedom, the flexibility of the financing needed for enough freedom to move up the ladder. And this would happen through risk sharing and long-term financing. Debt financing, particularly short and medium-term debt, it will help SMEs to survive, that is true. It will help SMEs to continue doing their business, that is true, in general, but it will not help them to move up the ladder and get this quantum leap forward in order to become really large businesses that add substantial value. It is true SMEs collectively, they create more jobs, but individually, large enterprises, they have substantial value to add to the economy. So I would conclude by pointing out that we really need to have economic freedom that would help us to grow and to break the barriers. We have several barriers. We have, pleasure and short-term consumption barrier that would probably make us addicted to seeking short-term pleasure. We have the debt barrier, which have put pressure on us in order to service the debt on time, while actually the debt keep growing. In order to move away from this, we can see how Islamic economics and Islamic finance provide a framework that would enhance our ability to achieve sustainable development and shared prosperity. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate, again, the leadership and the pioneering initiatives of the General Council for Islamic Banks. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Sami, for these inspiring thoughts, as always. It's always very helpful to hear from you and sometimes to bring things to the right track. Thank you. Thank you. So Islamic finance, of course, is not very active in the Latin America region, but we are very pleased and happy to hear from our friend today, Karim Qubain, who is the FICAC director. We want to hear about what he's doing and perhaps some perspective for Islamic finance in that region. He's from, coming to see us from the Honduras. Mr. Karim, please.
Thank you, Mr. Abdelilah, Secretary General of CIBAFI. Mr. Ahmed Al-Wakil, Chairman of ASCAME. Mr. Anwar Zibaoui, General Coordinator of ASCAME. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everybody. I would like to start by telling you that I come from a small country like Honduras, but with an incomparable passion for soccer. And the curious thing is that the passion is greater for the Spanish teams than for the Honduran teams themselves. So a group of friends sent me a list of souvenirs to get from their beloved club Barcelona and others from their beloved Real Madrid. Nosotros FICAC consistimos de 25,000 miembros cónsules y con ese trato con ese agreement with Mr. Abdullah to have this client as a choice for the Islamic Bank. Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. Truly, friends, it is an honor to be in front of all of you on behalf of the World Federation of Consular Associations, FICAC, and I am the bearer of fraternal greetings from our President, Honorable Nikolaos Margaropoulos, and the Board of Directors. We are proud to have representation of 97 Consular Association Corps with consuls on all countries, who are working toward common objectives for the benefit of our communities. We appreciate, Mr. Anwar, that you allow us as FICAC to attend this important midweek Barcelona, to interact with the economic leaders of ASCAME, with whom we are united with ties of friendship and cooperation throughout our history. And we are sure that we will continue working as a team to achieve new goals toward the future. FICAC is a non-profit institution founded in 1982 in Denmark, and with its current headquarters in Brussels. Through the work of large teams of men and women, we have been recognized by the United Nations and maintain links of permanent cooperation with the European Union and the Organization of American States. One of our great challenges has been to change the role of both career and honorary consuls. We stop being decorative or filler figures to become an actors of change that promote cultural and commercial ties, and we are in permanent process of change. That's why it's important to interact with members and directors of ASCAME, because we recognize in you as an organization that is a world example in the promotion of business, in the exchange of knowledge, and the search for great alliances for the equitable progress of its 23 member countries. We as FICAC take their example as we are working on training and exchange of experiences to ensure that each consul becomes a promoter of investments, a defender of the environment, and a collaborator in the promotion of culture. For FICAC, the Mediterranean area is of utmost importance, and I would like to share with you that our president is of Greek origin, and that in the board of directors, we have representatives from countries such as Italy, Monaco, Tunisia, and Turkey. And I am originally from Palestine. FICAC and ASCAME have worked together with cooperation agreements and exchange of experiences. And today, we would like to invite you, Mr. Anwar, to meet in a common conference so as together continue closely in the search for new and better opportunities. Let us be actors of change and unite for new and better projects that serve our communities, especially the most vulnerable. On behalf of our President, of our Board of Directors, of our members, our best wishes for a very successful day, prosperity for ASCAME and all our friends of the Mediterranean. Thank you very much.
Thanks. May I ask the speakers now to join us for a photo before we hand over to Ms. Nuha for the moderation, please. Please come. Yeah. So that we have all together the speakers, a photo, please.
Should I start?
So to start with the session, let me introduce first Ms. Nuha Shakir, founder and Secretary General of the Egyptian FinTech Association. She will be the moderator of this session. Please, Ms. Nuha.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you here today. I would like to thank ASCAME, of course, and Union for the Mediterranean of bringing us all here together, and definitely the General Council for Islamic Banks. The speeches that were given this morning, Mr. Abdelilah, and then followed by the philosophical speech covered by Dr. Sami, actually put a challenge on how and what we are going to be contributing through this panel. To appreciate the principles of Islamic finance and to genuinely understand the value it brings to our lives, you have to do conventional banking and investment for 25 years. And that's exactly what I did, to come to a realization that Islamic finance principles and practices embedded in Islamic finance that reflects on the development of financial solutions that works for the best of the economy and society, both together. Today, we are faced by major challenges: climate change, social inequality, concentration of wealth and concentration of risks. All those and the consequences of having all the social illnesses and diseases that we are currently suffering from as societies are the direct results of unsustainable economic development. Depletion of resources, overconsumption, pollution, and all the environmental challenges that are affecting the livelihood, sustainability, and the health of people nowadays are all a direct result of unsustainable economic development. The financial industry lies at the heart and is the main driver for economic activity. So changing the underlying principles that govern how the financial industry operates and applying practices and designing financial services that serves sustainability is the answer to solving those issues and dealing with them. All those issues, Islamic finance has already developed solutions for hundreds of years ago. What we are going to be doing today with my esteemed panelists is that we are going to be looking at the solutions that are offered by Islamic finance to guarantee sustainability, to support financial inclusion and social equity, to promote for environmental wellness, as well as promote for sustainable, ethical, and socially fair investments as well. Without further ado, and I've said too much, let me introduce and invite my esteemed panelists to come and join. Professor Marcus, please. Dr. Mohammed Damak, as well as Mr. Mohammed Al-Khazemi. If you can please join us here. Thank you very much. Yes, please. Yeah. Well, I've almost said everything that I wanted to say for today, so you guys have the floor right now. Please be seated. Of course, definitely, yes.
Good morning.
I don't like to introduce people, and the reason why I don't do that is that I like people to tell us about what they're passionate about, what gets you out of bed. Why do you do what you are doing? So it's not just a mere introduction of titles and jobs. It's more about mission in life.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for allowing me to be here with you, esteemed co-panelists. And thank you to ASCAME, Anwar, and also CIBAFI, Abdelilah, for inviting me to be here. Just short titles. Today, I am the Associate Provost of the UPA Barcelona School of Management, the School of Management associated to the Universidad Pompeu Fabra, which is the most prestigious in the country. And I am leading the International Center in Sustainable Finance. That's what I'm doing today. But in the past, I was the former Secretary General of the Global Alliance for Banking on Values. That's where I met Abdelilah a long time ago. And the last time I was in that forum, I think it was in the 5th Islamic Finance Forum 4 years ago. Then it came the 6th one, but there was COVID around and everything. And at that time, I could be speaking to the audience about values-based banking and the similarities between values-based banking and Islamic finance, which are huge. As a result of that, but Abdelilah already mentioned that there was the signature of that agreement for CIBAFI to join PCAF, the platform to measure carbon accounting. But I'm still in sustainable finance, now from academia. That's what it is.
That is brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good morning. Buenos dias. It's a great pleasure and honor to be today in this very important premises or locations in Barcelona, and to attend the first time CIBAFI event about the Islamic finance. I thank the organizers, CIBAFI, Dr. Abdelilah, and all the organizers, ASCAME, and I thank our moderators to introduce us. I come from Libya. Currently, I am the chief representative of Al-Baraka Banking Group in Libya. As you know, Baraka Banking Group is a leading Islamic bank group in the regions, with the expansion over 13 countries in the Asia, Africa, and part of Europe, which is European from the Turkish point of view side. We have also a presence in Germany as a fintech company, or let's say digital bank. Before that, I had a different career path, that led me to, after 30 years of service and more, I was in the Secretary General of the Arab Hellenic or Arab Greek Chamber of Commerce for 10 years, where at that time I was honored to be the first to introduce Islamic banking in Greece. I organized a forum called the Arab Greek Economic Forum, which is running until today. I have invited Mr. Adnan Yusuf. He was then the president of the Arab Banks Union, and he was the first to introduce to the audience in Greece about Islamic banking. That event was in 2008, created a lot of echoes within the market. So we had meetings with different banks. Everybody was, somehow it was triggered by the Islamic banks. From the point of view of profit, if they can make more profits, they don't have any problems, to adopt such banking activities. But in any way, there was something. We throw a stone in still water, so that moved the waves here and there. People talk, the media and everything. After that, I returned back to Libya, and I joined the Al-Baraka group. But before that, and then I was also member of the Libyan National Committee of Climate Change. So that made a lot of change in my understanding to the challenges that facing the climate change. I had two chances to attend the COP in Doha in 2012, 12 years, and then the COP in Warsaw in Poland. So that was two events that then I knew that this is something big, that we are as small countries or developing, and we need to understand more what are the challenges facing the climate change. Now, connecting the climate change with the sustainable development with Islamic banks, it really was, when I was asked to come here, it was really difficult for me to find so much information. It was difficult to bring them all together and to present them to such a distinguished audience. We have so many things to say, but we'll try to be as narrow, as focused to the point as the discussion goes. And that's about me. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I'm Noha Shakir, the Secretary General of the Egyptian FinTech Association, the CEO of the International Climate Finance Center in Brussels, and the Senior Climate Finance Advisor to the UK government through their UK aid in Africa. I'm really glad that we in here all have that aspect of climate finance associated to the work that we do, because definitely climate change is one of the most pressing issues that Islamic finance can help us find solutions to. The second most pressing issue is financial exclusion and poverty that has resulted from the concentration of wealth that we said. And of course, we cannot close the session before we touch base on the resilience as well, and the concentration of risks associated with conventional banking. So where should we start? Should we start with ethical investment, perhaps, and how Islamic finance can help deal with that? We have I'm sorry. So we have a panelist online. I'm terribly sorry that I have. Okay. can you please go ahead and
Sure.
please go ahead and introduce yourself? Thank you.
No, that's absolutely fine. And very good morning to all of you. And thanks again for CIBAFI and ASCAME for the invitation. My name is Mohammed Damag. I'm the Global Head of Islamic Finance at S&P Global Rating. And in that capacity, I coordinate all the efforts that we do in Islamic finance, from producing ratings on Sukuk to Islamic banks, takaful companies, and also producing thought leadership on Islamic finance. And we've been very active in that and ensuring, among other, the alignment between Islamic finance and sustainable finance. I'm also part of our digitalization of the market working group with specific interest in stablecoin, central bank digital currencies, digital bonds and sukuk. And I'm a firm believer that this would be the future of the capital market.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction. And thank you very much for bringing up the digital side of offering Islamic financial services, granting access and guaranteeing affordability, and of course, the data-driven models that we can also touch base on today. Thank you very much, Mohammed, for bringing that up. So back to the question again, and I think we owe Mohammed to start with him to give his insights before we move to the other esteemed panelists. So Mohammed, ethical and socially sustainable investments. How does Islamic finance promote that? Thank you.
Right. I'll try to broaden a little bit the topic and talk a little bit about the alignment between Islamic finance and sustainable finance, and then try to say a few words on how Islamic finance could contribute to addressing some of the challenges that the Mediterranean region face, and particularly North Africa. So again, continuing on the same line of thought of Dr. Salim in his opening remarks, there's a natural alignment between Islamic finance and sustainable finance. And if you look at the ultimate goal of Sharia or maqasid al-Sharia, you can see, for example, that the goal of life protection is well aligned with the mobilization of resources to protect the environment, for example, or the mobilization of resources for social protection of sustainable finance. Another example is the fact that the Islamic finance transactions always require an underlying asset, and that's, again, aligned with the principle of reviewing the allocation of proceeds from issuance in sustainable finance. There's even a call in the industry currently to shift the paradigm from what is permissible, what is only halal, or the negative screening of what is only Sharia compliant, to what is permissible and adds value, halal and tayyib, which is more sort of a positive screening. I represent a rating agency. We love numbers, so I'm going to throw in few numbers. The first number I will throw is the total volume of sustainable finance issuance in core Islamic finance countries. And when I speak about core Islamic finance countries, that include the GCC countries, obviously, Malaysia, Indonesia, Turkey, and from North Africa, you would have the Egypt, the Libya, Algeria, Tunisia, and also Morocco. And if you look at the total amount of sustainable finance issuance out of these core countries in the first 9 months of this year, it reached $22 billion. And that compares with $9 billion during the same period last year. So almost, more than doubling effectively. And out of the 22 billion, 8 billion of that were in Sukuk format versus 4 billion last year. And again, this is a doubling compared with the performance of last year. And the growth of sustainable intermediated financing has also been on the rise in the region, with more banks focusing on that, offering green mortgages, electric vehicle financing, and also green project financing. Now, what does it mean for North Africa? Again, North Africa is a region that, according to the United Nations Environment Programme, faces many environmental stresses that includes water scarcity, arable land depletion, air pollution, inadequate waste management, loss of biodiversity, declining marine resources, and degradation of coastal ecosystem, to name just these few challenges. And the future development scenarios are expected to exacerbate these challenges. Now, the positive news here is that efforts towards greater sustainability are taking place. In the energy sector, for example, if you look at the commitment of some of the North African countries in terms of increasing their renewable energy capacity, it's important. Morocco, for example, is very much committed to develop its solar capacity. For Egypt, it's more the wind. On the water recycling and management, which is also another challenge that require significant investment in these countries. And some of the investments could be done in a Sharia compliant way, or at least by opening this avenue, the countries or the corporates would be speaking not only to the traditional investors that would come in case you issue a green bond or in case you do a syndicated green financing, but also they would be able to speak to the Islamic investors. Now, the question that the audience is probably asking itself is why this is not taking off? And the answer is simple. Sukuk is a complex instrument to put in place, and it necessitates a certain number of prerequisites, whether on the local regulation or on putting together the structure itself. But others did it, and it means that the issuers in North Africa can do it as well. And the most recent example is Egypt, that have been able to make it to the finish line by raising $1.5 billion sukuk for the first time in 2023. And the challenge is that the industry and standard setters might be heading for more profit and loss sharing in the structure, which is good, but could change the dynamic of the industry from fixed income instrument to equity-like instrument, and could reduce the competitiveness of the sukuk as an instrument versus other instruments. And by the way, competitiveness is the reason why Islamic finance is not picking up much compared with conventional finance in North Africa. So having a higher harmonization of standards could definitely help. And also what could help is having some incentive for the issuers. We saw that in Malaysia, for example. We saw that in the UAE with the Security and Commodities Authority offering to take in charge the fees of listing green sukuk and bonds on the financial market in Dubai. And having also proper standards and taxonomies could help in these countries. And in March 2023, the Arab Monetary Fund released the guidance for sustainable sovereign instruments, including sukuk. And the guidance recommended also that issuers follow the ICMA principle and that the regional environmental, social, and governance taxonomy should be developed. And maybe, again, because I have a genuine interest in digitalization, and I will end with that, the final word on that and how it could help. In my view, it can smooth the issuance process and make it more a viable source of financing for the issuers and the investors, because I believe that the digitalization could resolve the dual challenge of having standard legal documents in place, which could be embedded in the platform of issuance, and reducing the complexity of issuance, significantly decreasing the time to market. And all of a sudden, sukuk issuance becomes a matter of few days instead of being a matter of a few months. And also, it could, having this process in place could help to open the market to SMEs issuers, and SMEs are among the top contributors to job creation, and also retail investors. And the missing part of the puzzle is how to bring the money from the real world to the on-chain world. And for the time being, in digital bond space, for example, we've seen three possibilities: the use of stable coins, having a central bank digital currency as a wholesale basis for intermediaries. We've seen that in Switzerland, for example, or simply leave the money off the chain and go through the traditional route. Thank you.
Inshallah.
Well, thank you very much, Mohammed. Like the choice to start with you was definitely a value-adding one. Now that you have listed all the issues that we currently have on the ground like issuing green sukuk, perhaps, and the proposed solutions as well to make that as effective as green bonds are in closing certain funding gaps in the market, and of course referring to the digitalization of the entire process end-to-end is definitely of value. Now to Marcos. How can Islamic finance support ethical and socially equitable investments?
Well, I think you already do it. But I really want to be extremely practical today. I mean, I think that the last time I was with you, 4 years ago, we focused more on the models of ethical and values-based banking and the way they compare to Islamic finance and how we could work together as we should and we have. But today I would love to just go through a specific example of something that can be done. When I left my role as Secretary General of the Global Alliance for Banking and Values after 8 years sitting on an airplane, literally, I came back to my hometown, Barcelona, so I didn't have to take a plane to come here. I just came by motorbike. That's pretty simple. I came back to academia after some years, and I mean, in a couple of supervisory boards, also financial institutions, by the way, and I joined a very interesting initiative as an advisor, as a member of the advisory committee. And this interesting initiative is called NACTIVA. I didn't really want to bring any presentation. If any of you is interested, I mean, I'm very glad to send you some info. But NACTIVA, N-A-C-T-I-V-A, is sort of is a platform, and is a platform whose mission is to use private initiatives and agreements and cooperation between private companies to regenerate the Mediterranean economy, period. Because we really want to go beyond sustainability. I mean, we believe that sustainability is great and so on and so forth, but I think that the distress that our nature is suffering is so huge that we need more. It's not about sustaining things, it's more about regenerating things and trying to recover the capacity of land and water and the atmosphere to host a livable life. Not only for human beings, because we are only host to this planet, but for all species, exactly, on the planet. So because of that, and based on experiences, similar experiences in Brazil, in the UK, and in East Africa, we decided to create NACTIVA. NACTIVA is a company. It's a non-for-profit company. I mean, it's a company that's ruled under a new legislation in Spain that was passed last year, which is called a for-benefit company. And this company has the mission of attracting mid-sized and large corporations, including financial institutions, and I'll go to Islamic finance after that, including financial institutions, to identify areas in the Mediterranean. We have started, as you can imagine, because we are located in Barcelona, for this sort of a Spanish Mediterranean coast so far, but we would really like to go beyond that, or cooperate with other similar platforms in other areas of the Mediterranean. So the intention is to really sort of bring this sort of power of many different companies in many different industries to identify areas of business opportunity that at the time that you really make a profit in a business and whatever, you regenerate land or you regenerate water or coast or whatever. That's the intention. So it's more a convening platform, Based on that, the platform has been in operations for not that much, not that long a time, but about 1.5 years. And we have 4 areas of focus. One is what we call NACTIVA land, NACTIVA forest, Nactiva coastline, and Nactiva water and rivers. So those 4 areas of focus with experts, in the 4 areas, identify in which parts of the territory we have, opportunities to do business while regenerating nature at the same time. And, well, I mean, there are quite a few examples. Let me just give you a couple of examples of things that are now being done or that will be done shortly. Because, for instance, we have one of the projects that is now being done is a Mediterranean plant protein. So using some crops that will be sort of natural in their territory, but that they were not harvested anymore just because of the interest of farmers and industries. We want to go back to the original sort of plants, and instead of sort of live out of growing and harvesting this, we make protein or like vegan protein things out of those ones. Another example is the regeneration of the Llobregat River, which is the river in the south of Barcelona. There are lots of small villages that gave shelter to industries and companies, industrial companies in the 19th century that are like fully destroyed and not in use anymore. So there is a tourist plan to regenerate that in the coming 10 years. So now, as part of our promoters, we have large companies. The water company in Spain, Aguas de Barcelona, Naturgy, the big energy company, big retail companies on food like Hameed, and many others. And for instance, in this case, we have CaixaBank as the financial partner, but some other partners are joining. So the question is, and it's more a provocation for you guys in Islamic finance, why don't Islamic finance promote things like this in other parts of the world? Or we look for ways of cooperating, because Islamic finance should be a natural promoter of this sort of platforms to do similar things in Northern Africa and in other parts of the Mediterranean basin. But that's my provocation.
Okay, so the question is here, now we are raising a question regarding the possibility of developing a new set of nature-based Islamic financing solutions that can actually support deforestation, ecosystem biodiversity, maintenance, as well as other environmental objectives in there. So the likes of carbon credits, biodiversity credits, ecosystem payments, perhaps.
We have identified 4 areas just because in this region of the Mediterranean, this is what looks reasonable. But perhaps in other areas of the basin, the areas should be slightly different. Why not? I mean, we need to adapt to that. But yes.
Well, we have all the decision makers in here or online who can actually pick the top and run with. And we definitely would love to explore opportunities of collaboration to perhaps pioneer one or more solution that can actually serve that objective. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Mohammed.
Yes. I think the guys,
gentlemen,
they raised the bar high. Okay. For anybody, Dr. Mohammed from the UAE and
then let us shift to financial inclusion just to make sure that we cover it properly before there.
Perhaps
how exactly?
Perhaps I thought just to share some ideas, maybe in the basic of the, because Dr. Mohammed mentioned a few things about the Sharia objectives or maqasid Sharia. That's how we can align this with the sustainable development, because the core subject for us today is how to link sustainable developments with the Islamic finance or Islamic economy together. Because both, I think, the Sharia objectives, which driven our daily life, is have 5 basic elements that we have to consider, which is the preservation of the soul or someone's life, mind, legends, and wealth, and the owner. So all these, together, it aligns with the sustainable development, because sustainable development means that you make projects that develop by itself, and it's not limited to a small size or medium size, as Dr. Sami said. It has to grow, to take the ladder up and then grow. So this is how the sustainability works. For us, as a Muslims, we need to understand first these are these elements, in order for us that when we preserve environment or make a financial inclusion or protect the weak people in the society, it means that we are doing a religious duty for us. So it can play two in one. And from one side is from the faith point of view, and from the other side is from the environment and economic. So sustainable development and finance, Islamic finance, linked together with the corporate social responsibility and economic justice for the society. When we come to the Mediterranean regions, and that was mentioned here, yes, we are facing so many challenges, especially in the North Africa side. We are really facing problems regarding the desertifications, water scarcities, and the pollutions, waste management, and you name it. If we focus more on Libya, where I come from, even though that the law is passed in 2013 to prohibit any kind of conventional banking activities, so Libya becomes fully, let's say, Islamic banking system, but still we are gradually trying to adopt and onboard this experience. However, with the conflict that happens from time to time, really this is causing a lot of challenges for us. We believe that even though Libya has resources of oil and gas, but still cannot mobilize funds for projects. And we are very much hit by the climate change. And you remember last month in Derna, east of Libya, the floods of Storm Daniel hit badly that area. And now, I don't think, in my view, that the government is able to finance any reconstruction projects. Now, there's a talk about, funds from international community, from investors again. But still, they still focusing on a traditional way of thinking. We have another means of development and funding, which is the sukuk. The sukuk, although we have a law passed in Libya for the sukuk, but still the usage of this mechanism or financial mechanism is very limited to maybe 1 or 2 projects happens in the housing projects and some of the power stations project, but very, very limited. So we believe that because there is a need, as it was mentioned in the opening today, there is a need from the regulators, from the governments to really on board. Because the challenge for us, especially in the Muslim countries, sometimes the institutions or the regulators in those countries, they don't believe really, or they are skeptical about whether this is Islamic finance is real or not. Although, when we discussed Dr. Noha in the introductory Zoom meeting, we said we wanted to just enlighten people that Islamic finance is not today's issue or tomorrow, yesterday. It's been here since thousands of years, 1,400 years, that when the Islam came, put the rules and the foundations of the Islamic finance. And this is where the Arabs brought here to Andalusia, to Iberian Peninsula. They built civilizations through that system. And once we got away from that methodology, and also were colonized by other powers, brought with them some other ideas. So now we trying to come back again. But the figures, as mentioned earlier in the speeches, the numbers of the growing Islamic industry is really significant. We have to look at this, and we stop at this.
Well, yes, definitely, because there is a need in the market, and when there's a need and a solution that fits and can close those gaps, it definitely picks up quickly and fast. A McKinsey article 3 days ago about insurance companies not being enthusiastic about insuring or covering climate disasters, for example. This is a clear on the ground issue that takaful, for example, can solve without having to change anything in the underlying principles that we apply. We have 5 more minutes to close, and I would like to raise a question for the 3 of you about the Islamic banks in Germany, how they managed to actually sterilize the interest borne from adherence to the euro area rules, like the deposits at the central banks that actually pay interest. Who wishes to attend to that?
Germany. If I want to mention, just because we are as Al-Baraka, we have a digital bank. Was only designed and for the German markets, but mainly it was connected with the Al-Baraka Turk. It was mainly, the idea is to target the Turkish, let's say, populations within Germany, so that may use this technique. But it was like a pilot project.
Okay.
Still, they are developing it. It's not in a wide, so it's not a real banking. That's why they wanted to skip the regulations of the EU countries. And this is something that I wanted to mention, since here we are in the EU. Why still until today we don't have banking activities really? Like we can open branch in one of the EU, like France, Spain, Italy, Greece, for example. Yes, this is a question for me. I mean, I can't have an answer for it.
All right.
Maybe I can take a stab.
Sure, please.
Right. So basically, I mean, yeah, absolutely. In Europe, you don't have the equivalent of the liquidity facility that was created recently by the Central Bank of the UK. Well, the Central Bank of the UK, conscious of the challenge that Islamic banks were facing and the fact that they are at disadvantage compared with the conventional because they cannot place their money with the Central Bank of the UK, has created an Islamic liquidity facility for them that they can use for that purpose. Now, for the specific question in Europe, so there's no equivalent with the ECB, and that's why I suspect that the Islamic banks with operation in Europe would typically place their liquidity not with the ECB, but probably with other banks using, for example, commodity murabaha transactions or using other acceptable structures.
Well, and actually there are a few fintechs based out of the UK who have actually managed to do that. So Islamic fintech startups and companies, and perhaps we can see some collaboration happening between Islamic banks and Islamic fintechs in there. 2 more minutes that we have for perhaps questions from the audience, and then I'll happily conclude today's discussion. Questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much for being here.
If I can mention something before you close, how we can establish cooperations, because we are here to find cooperations. We don't here just to say something and go.
With
we want to come. No, I mean just with Mr. Marcos' idea, this company that he established in Barcelona. How this can be of help to bring this know-how, because into our countries through CIBAFI, through other ASCAME. You know how we can establish some links on the other side of the Mediterranean, where we face the problems.
That's the platform in here where we shared
I would suggest,
info and data.
Anwar knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, okay. Then let's take that perhaps.
Anwar knows Nactiva because, I mean, we are in conversation.
Yes.
So probably through ASCAME. And I will be very pleased to help Anwar to, look for these links between what we do here, what you can do there, and why not create whatever.
Yes.
Whatever is good for the population of our basin.
Right. This is our, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed and Marcus for being here today. And thank you for having us. And I hope you've had enjoyed the discussion as much as we did. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.